James. I know it's in here. James. It's Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, James, isn't it? Isn't that how it goes? All right, chapter 4. We looked at the tongue, and I know sometimes it may not seem like all of these tie together, but each of these chapters really do tie together. In chapter 3, we started out, don't be in a rush to become a teacher, pastor, leader, because you're going to give a greater account, and every word that we say will someday, we will stand before God and give an account for everything we have taught, everything that we have, preached, everything that we have said. We will stand before God and give an account for what we taught, what we preached, how we preached, things that we instructed. So don't be in a hurry to become a teacher, pastor, deacon, or anything else. Then we saw the danger of the tongue. Man, it can get you in trouble. I was at one of my doctors today, and the medical assistant, boy, she looked 9 months pregnant. I mean, she looked like she was ready to give birth. And then I looked at her and I thought, oh, she could just be fat. So I just kept my mouth shut for once. But it almost slipped out. So when's the baby due? And it's like, no. But you can say something before you think and destroy somebody. And even though I thought I learned my lesson years ago when I did that one time, it still almost slipped out. Did you notice if she was, is she? Kathy doesn't know either. But the tongue can say something without even thinking. With the danger of the tongue, we need to make sure that we have the wisdom that comes from above. The wisdom from above is pure, peaceable, gentle. It is easy to be entreated, full of mercy, good fruits, without partiality, and without hypocrisy. But the wisdom from the earth is earthly, sensual, and devilish. So depending on the wisdom from above or the wisdom from below, the tongue can really be an instrument of encouragement or an instrument of destruction. So again, if you're in a position of leadership, if you're a wise man endued with knowledge, then you cannot have bitterness. You cannot have envy. You cannot glory in what God has given you. And you cannot glory against the truth. So again, a good teacher, a good pastor has the fruit of the Spirit, and most of the time, by the help of the Holy Spirit, he controls his tongue. So then we come to chapter 4, and we're still looking in chapter 4 at this thing of being teachers, leaders, and discerning. Is my wisdom from above, or is my wisdom of the flesh? And so that's where we're going to pick up tonight. And I've only got verses 1, 2, and 3 because the next section would put me here past 8 o'clock. And, I know y'all would stay till 9 o'clock, but am I too loud? Yes, sir. All right. So we're still looking at this wisdom from above and this wisdom from beneath. From whence come wars and fightings among you? Now, I put verses 1, 2, and 3 as poor behavior, or I think I said conduct. Poor conduct or poor behavior can keep your prayers from being answered. This chapter shows, I've already said that, the results of wisdom from above versus the results of wisdom from below. He mentions wars and fighting. Now think about who James is written to. He wrote it to the 12 tribes of Israel that were scattered. So he wrote it to Jews. At this time, the Jews were still under Roman rule. And if you've gotten anything from sermons and previous lessons, the Jews hated Roman rule. They despised Roman rule. And historically, they tried numerous times to overthrow the Roman Empire so that they did not have Romans overruling them. So as a nation, they wanted to be free. In and of itself, that's not necessarily bad. But, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself. As Christians, they were full of strife, anger, bitterness. A lot of it was over Roman Empire. But then even among your members, even among your members, they were still full of anger, bitterness, hate, jealousy, envy. And I'll come back to this, but do you know why? And I want to be careful. Do you know why there is often fighting amongst the church members? I got one yes. And I'll prove this, but many times it's because we're walking in the flesh. We're walking in the flesh. Ye lust, and ye have not. Almost all wars, fightings, strife, and division is caused by people walking in the flesh. Now let's bring it. We'll look at the nations and things in a minute, but let's bring it down to church. Our carpet is really starting to show wear and tear. Behind the pulpit, do you ever look when you stand up? It's almost threadbare where I stand and where I move and where I go back and forth. So let's pretend that we've got all the money in the world and we're going to replace the carpet. I like blue and lavender or purple. Those are my two favorite colors. But Charles likes bright red. what's going to cause a conflict, or what can potentially cause a conflict? It's, I want my way. I don't care what you want. He wants his way. He doesn't care. So it becomes my desire, what I want, what pleases me, what is, what do I want? And I don't care about anybody else. I want what I want. And so we are caught up with our own desires. And I could give probably a couple dozen examples of people that got into a fight because both of them, in some cases, both of them were headstrong, both of them were stubborn, neither one wanted to give. And when you really boiled it right down to, it boiled down to personal preferences. I'm not talking doctrine. I'm not talking doctrine. If it comes to doctrine, I told someone recently, they were talking about how easygoing I've gotten in my old age. They knew me back before I was easygoing. But how easygoing, and it's like, and I don't even remember the exact statement, but I said, you know what? I've learned carpet, the majority wants bright red, I'll learn to live with it. If the majority wants purple walls, I'll learn to live with it. I said, but don't mistake that when it comes to truth. I will fight to my last breath. But so many times in marriage, what causes a lot of conflict in marriage? Did y'all hear that? Did you hear that? He said husbands. Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I have a saying, and I told, who was it? I've seen so many doctors. Oh, I told the lady at the doctor today, I said, I get asked a lot when people find out we've been married almost 52 years, what is your secret? Have I told you all the 3 points? Yes, ma'am. You're right. I'm sorry. She loved it. She loved it. But many times we're thinking about me. You never pick up your socks. And my wife is going, yeah. Wait a minute. What am I more upset about? The fact he didn't pick up his socks, or the fact that I'm going to have to? And I could, you could make up your own scenario. In fights, it usually boils down to one person wants what they want, and the other person doesn't. And so it becomes a matter of I want, you want, and I want, you don't want. And so it becomes a matter of what me being number one. I must be number one. And so it's of our own lust. It comes about from individuals wanting to fulfill their own lust, whether it be power. Someone asked me, wasn't anybody from our church, but someone was talking and they said, why, you as pastor, you just need to step in and make a decision. And I looked at him and I said, that's not a spiritual decision. What time we going to eat? We're going to have soup and sandwiches, or we're going to have, cake and ice cream. I said, that is not a spiritual decision. Has nothing to do with the Bible. That's why I don't get involved. You ladies do an excellent job, and I've learned after so many years, you don't change perfection. But I know preachers. I know one preacher. I could call his name easily. You had to get your list of songs approved by him before you could lead any of those songs congregationally. If you sung a special, you had to get permission from him before you were allowed to sing. You know what? The other night, Casey told me something. I said, Casey, you're in charge of singing. You just tell me when to get up and speak, and you're in charge. I can't do everything. But you had to get his permission, and then he had to check the song before you were allowed to sing. I'm sorry. Wanting my way all the time on everything is definitely going to step on somebody's toes, and we're going to have hurt feelings, and we're going to have conflict. My philosophy of late has been, when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to faithfulness, when it comes to truth, I will fight to the finish. But whether we have soup and sandwiches, I couldn't care less, and I'm serious. You know, whether we have blue carpet, if you wanted, I can think of a couple colors that I would really have to swallow. But if that's what the majority wants, I'm not going to get upset over it. I'm not going to get my feelings hurt. But so many conflicts, they fight, they war, because they lust after what they want. This is what I want. I don't care what anybody else wants. They want fame. They want control. You've all heard of the proverbial climbing the ladder at work. What happens when somebody is determined to climb the ladder? You were general manager. Yeah. I don't care if I have to step on you. I want that promotion. And if I have to lie, cheat, steal, I will do whatever it takes so that I get that promotion and not you. That happens all the time. It happens in church. National wars. Many of them, I had most, and I changed it, were caused by one person who wanted to rule the world. Hitler. Didn't like the Jews. I don't like Jews, we'll kill them. He didn't like anybody that had any kind of physical defect. If you were deaf, mute, he would kill you, because it was his, I don't like handicapped people. Germany, Russia, even today, Vladimir Putin wants to be the head honcho. And so he will kill. Have you noticed? Y'all may not have noticed. Over the last couple of years, there's been a few people that have publicly condemned him. Y'all heard that? There's been a few people in Russia. You know what happened to every single one of those people? They died a very mysterious death. Why? Because nobody is going to challenge Vladimir Putin. What was it? The Rocket Man. Trump used to call the guy in China. Was it the Rocket Man? Was it North Korea? Okay, well, he called something the guy in China. But the guy in China right now is waiting to take over Taiwan. North Korea is waiting to take over South Korea. Why? Because I want control of all of it. And by the way, if Russia succeeds in taking Ukraine, they will not stop at Ukraine. It'll be on to the next country and the next country. So in many cases, church splits are often the result of two people, neither one wants to give. Neither one is willing to say, you know what, I like blue, but you know what, if you like red, I'll live with red because it's not worth fighting over. But that's not very often in many churches. They never attain what they want because they're never satisfied. I remember years ago, and I don't remember who said it, but someone who was, rich or supposed to be rich, they asked the question, when is enough enough? Oh, if I could get $100,000, I'd be happy. They get $100,000, it's like, well, 250,000 would be better. And then they get 250, and it's like, well, I could think we can make 500, and then 1,000,000, then 2. They're never satisfied. They never find peace and comfort in what they get because they never attain what they want because they keep moving the bar up and up and up. They want it, they desire it, whether it's money, whether it's fame, whether it's power, or whether it's physical pleasure. They never are satisfied. They lust, but they never receive it because they're never satisfied with what they have. What they cannot get by moral, legal, and biblical means, it says you kill and desire to have. They're willing to do anything regardless of moral, legal, biblical, or anything else, and take it by force. They kill if necessary. You get in their way, and they will kill you because they want what they want, and they don't care about anybody else. I still have quite a few friends in the police department, and I talk to some of them occasionally. And I used to joke, but it's not a joke anymore. When we first moved up here 32 years ago, you didn't hear anything in crime in Florence. There was never a shooting in Florence. In fact, I used to joke. I'd get up in the morning, read the paper or watch the news to see if anybody got a speeding ticket or something. It was that dead in Florence. But now, from what I am told, there are things going on every day, every day, every day, every day, every day. Why? Because people want what they want, and if you disagree with them, they will kill you. The other day I did something and my wife said, honey, you're going to get a road rage. And it's like, that wasn't my intention. But you know what? You accidentally cut somebody off, they just soon jump out and shoot you. They just soon jump out. We were on our way to church one night, and this truck accidentally cut this guy off. And this guy stops his car, jumps out, runs back, and begins beating this guy up through the windows, beating him up, all because he accidentally cut him off. People are crazy, but it still boils down to where they want what they want. You cut me off. I don't appreciate that. I don't appreciate being cut off by anybody. And I am so important that if you cut me off, you're going to pay because I deserve better than that. Isn't that the mentality of people today? Oh, I could get off on, I deserve a free college education. I deserve a house. I deserve a cell phone. In other words, all they care about is their own lust and what they want. That's the total opposite of Christianity. And they will go to any lengths to get what they want. But in spite of their efforts, they cannot obtain what they want. Because true peace and joy does not come from things. How many of you, we don't have younger ones here. I guess you're the youngest here. So, oh yeah, Casey, I'm sorry. He's got you beat by a little. Remember growing up, all we had to play with was a stick. That stick could be a horse. That stick could be a gun. That stick could be a baseball bat. And we were content. Nowadays, I have to have a real wooden horse. I have to have, it's everybody wants. And no matter how much they get, they cannot obtain what they want, no matter how hard they try, because what they want will never satisfy the flesh. So they kill, they desire, they can't get it, they fight, they war, yet they have not because you asked not. Now I'm going to have to come back to that because we will be here another 10 or 15 minutes. But when you read things like James or any other book and look at people today, we really haven't changed that much. People today are just like people were in James's day, just like they were in Hezekiah's day, just like they were in Elijah's day. Human nature is still depraved and evil and wicked. All right, Saturday, nothing